Good morning.
Morning all.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Bit early.
It's Sunday.
Very early.
Bit early for a live stream.
Nothing wrong with it.
No,
All the
it's
more
good.
to get up at this time in the morning, Jay. Get stuff done right house for
Absolutely.
missus. Get some man points.
Get some jobs done early.
Oh no, he's in the chat already. I'm gonna get grilled again. I'm still rubbing me bruises from Friday night. Anyway, so thanks for joining, everybody. Hopefully this morning could be quite an entertaining one. Not that it's anything to go by Friday night, Jay, but we'll try.
I enjoyed that. It was good. Good laugh. I know, obviously, you took most of the jokes on Friday, so I appreciate that. But
It's all right,
it was a
mate.
good one. A good atmosphere. A little bit different. And I know Rob joined us in the chat as well, so thanks for that, Rob. Yeah. And it's Josh as well. I haven't seen Josh for bloody ages.
No, nice to see you, mate.
I've been hidden away under a rock.
I know. I haven't seen you for ages. I'm looking forward to catching up and hearing about the tank.
Good.
Definitely.
Good. So how do we want to play it this morning? Should we have an update? What's happened with fish tanks? Because we didn't really talk about that much on Friday, did we, Jay? I know you didn't have really much to talk about. So, Rob, how's your week in reefing been this week? Anything to report?
I fitted a new fan in the fish room this week because my other one broke about, I don't know, months ago. I've just been tired. I didn't want to pay for a new one because I've got these expensive German fans and I decided not to go with the same fan again. So I've just bought a same company, Blauberg, but it's an inline fan.
Right.
So yeah, it's made a difference actually. It's giving me a little pH bump. It's changing obviously the air in the fish room over a lot more. So yeah, that's basically, I've ducted it out. So it's all done. So hopefully it's continuous duty fan, so I can just leave it now. So that's probably, I don't think I've done anything else other than usual maintenance stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Do you have an issue in your fish room then with temperature then? When it gets warm up into the warmer months then, with you having that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got aircon and I've also got two huge, like 20-inch fans over the tank. So yeah, it's just all the lights. Once 20 radions sort of kick on, it just gets hot. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the LEDs, but they still pump out a bit of heat, don't they? So yeah, so it's on days like this, I think it's going to be like 29 today, 28, 29.
Yeah, it's a hot one today.
Wow.
Yeah. So
today and tomorrow, isn't it? It's going to be hot.
So it just helps keeping the amount the aircon kicks in down. It's cheaper to run a fan than it is the aircon. So that's the sort of
overall. I know that.
Yeah, air exchange is good as well. So yeah, so that's
bit of fun.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Stuff.
Bit of fun. Yeah, fair enough. Well, I've got a 300 water change to do this afternoon. Can't wait. No.
300 litre was that?
On a Sunday.
350. Yeah, the water's ready. I just need to heat it up a bit more. Yeah, I did it
Your water change is bigger than my tank volume.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come on to that in a bit anyway, because that is the topic of this morning's conversation. We're not going to fall out. They're the rules. Nobody's falling out with anybody. What's the latest with your tank, Josh? Like I say, we've not spoken in ages. What's happening? Just give me a little bit of a summary.
I mean, obviously you mentioned the post I put up the other day about sort of leaving the tank on autopilot and just sort of letting it cruise for the summer. Even though the weather's not been amazing, I've just tried. Yeah, every year I think if you look back through my Instagram, you'll notice that I've sort of go a bit AWOL through the summer. And I've done it again this year. I've probably done it more this year than I have before. Water changes have sort of dried up. I did one this week just out of courtesy, so the tank looks a little bit cleaner for the stream. But yeah, so it's like water changes have dried up. A lot of like the heavy dosing, the heavy in and heavy out I was doing stopped. That was down to I think I mentioned before that I just was removing the socks and the floss and just letting things go naturally. And the nitrates ended up over, I think, 50 plus, anywhere between 50 and 100 because you don't get a very good reading on that Salifert kit.
Oh.
So things aren't looking as good as, let's say, they were 6 months ago. And that's largely down to that summer neglect. But things are still alive. Nothing's died. Well, corals wise anyway. Fish haven't been fared so well, but I think that's because there's maybe some disease in the tank that has been here for quite a while. I went for that molly experiment, and that's resulted in there being just, you can literally see it in the background now, so been around. It's the only one left, and there's one of them, and then there's the mandarin. That's all I've got left in there, so I'm just letting them slowly work their way through, and then eventually, if we end up with 0, then so be it. I'll leave it fishless for 3-4 months, and then hopefully we'll go for it again. So if anything's in there, hopefully it'll die off. But yeah, not the most positive news, but we're still 100% on coral stock. So let's just get the colours back up, hopefully, and pay a little bit more attention over the next few weeks, and things might turn around.
Fingers crossed for you, mate. How does that sound to somebody who's such a fish man, Rob? Hearing somebody talk about having no fish, I could just feel
I was just sitting there going, "What?" I've puckered. Yeah,
oh,
I'd struggle with a tank with no fish.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I prefer having the fish, but if it's one of those, I'm not going to. Yeah, not going to throw them in there. And it seems unfair to keep picking a few more fish up, throwing them in, letting them suffer, and even if you want them, so more their welfare in the long term.
So what is that fish in the? What is that little fish that I can see at the front of your tank? Is that a molly? I decided that I was after losing quite a few different sort of marine specific fish. I thought I'll give the mollies a go, see how they fare, and obviously because they've got no immunity to anything marine, they all flared up with a few things quite quickly. But I know they're quite hardy, and that normally they'll tend to sort of rid themselves of any illnesses as long as they're fed well. And that seemed to be the case. They were fine for a good few months. And then slowly, one by one, we started to lose them. And that's the last one. That one there's not got any marks on it at all now. So I reckon that's the only one that's actually managed to build up an immunity and survive. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Fingers crossed. Right then. So let's say hello to everybody who's made the effort to join us this Sunday morning. Morning, John. Thanks for joining us, mate. Hope you're well.
Morning, John.
Morning.
Cotties. Morning.
Morning, mate.
Having a good weekend. I think Paul's in the car listening to this. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, boss.
I'm sure he's going to have something to say. Yeah, morning, boss. I'm sure he's going to have something to say about it. Lee, morning. Thanks for joining us, mate. I'll see you later on. Hopefully going to pop over to mine and help me with one of my apexes because I'm just not down with toys like that. Anyway, he's the gizmo man. Critical, thanks for joining us.
Morning, mate. Good to see you.
Morning, oh, well, queued up a local tip. Great. Lovely.
Standard Sunday, isn't it? The tip.
Standard Sunday.
That's something that a lot of people do on a tip.
As long as he's not taking his tank.
Hopefully not, no, hopefully. I've had enough of this.
Yeah, UK 120 morning, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, buddy. Morning.
Liam, morning, mate. We've got David in the house. And we've also got Rennie's Reef. Morning, Rennie's Reef. And we've got this guy. I've never heard of him before.
It's should be gone.
I didn't even have a chance to read it. I'm going to have to read it off the other screen.
Morning, Jumpers Reef. And morning, Nick. Thanks for joining us. I think that is... and we've got Dave. Morning, Dave. Sorry, really missed out on you. And Stu's Reef has joined us. Thanks for joining us, Stu's Reef. So then,
nice one.
Topic of today, big tanks versus small tanks, or smaller tanks, should I say. So, Jay, thanks for joining and stepping in the ring at last minute to represent the smaller tank community.
Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it. It seemed like a good idea on Friday night when I had loads of energy, and now it's like, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I'm ready for this street fight. I've seen the little emoji thing. That was pretty cool. The thumbnail was really cool, but I'll give it my best shot. Obviously, I've got Josh on my team, so we'll try and sing the praises of the Nano. And if anybody in the chat else, if anybody else on the chat,
the audience, the audience need to chat definitely and give us their opinions.
Help us out.
What's the general criteria then for a small and a big? When does it stop being small and when does it start being big?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's a good question straight off the bat. That one, good question for everybody to ask. You're going to get me doing polls here, aren't you? Clearly.
Well, I think
I'd go with anything under 3 foot is small, and anything 3 foot and over is
okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm coming from a very small start. Well, I think if you're over 3, if it's 3 foot or over, you're getting a pretty decent size, aren't you? There, 4 foot's definitely a decent size tank.
Yeah.
So I think 3 foot, somewhere around where it might be nano to a decent size. What are you calling yours? Big tanks, big boy tanks. Is that what you calling yours?
Yeah, call them big.
I think they need a new category of their own, to be honest.
I know, yeah. That's like
to be fair to Rob's I think Rob's is pretty much twice the volume of mine, believe it or not. So because of the width of his.
Yeah.
So anyway,
they're like dream reefs, aren't they? They are.
All right.
So what we so
what do you think, Tom? What do you think makes? Where's the line between nano and normal or whatever? I don't know.
Good question. I would probably say anything. I think a medium-sized tank is definitely 4 or 5 foot.
Yeah.
And I think a large tank's when you start going down the 6 foot route and upwards, personally. But because I mean, customs. It's like, where do you draw a line? I mean, you got to look at some of these YouTube videos in Dubai and whatever else, and you know, no offense, Rob, yours looks like
yeah, looks like hang on the back filter.
Like a jam. I mean, and then you've got the dream ones where you've got filter rooms and sump rooms and everything that I'm sure most hobbyists would love to have, but must cost an absolute fortune to run.
Yeah.
So
bear that in mind, Tom, when you're debating, yeah. With his own disadvantages, that's 2 now.
No.
He's dreading his water change later, and now he's just said they're so expensive. So there you go. I think we're already on to a winner here, Josh.
I like Gil's comment there. I think I'm on board with that.
Yeah. That seems very sensible. Yeah.
What's Dave saying? 12 years of nano on a 100 litre cube.
12 years to run nanos. That's ace. That is.
It
is.
Is
it 12 years of the same nano or not?
I don't know. That would be some achievement there. What? I didn't get the second bit of that statement. Where does it say?
There must be something wrong with this. I think it's where he was going.
Yes. Dave's on Team Nano. Good. Cheers, mate.
Team Nano.
It's going to be an uphill struggle, I think. So.
Hang on. He's just said he's just left us though. So does that mean he's just left us? He's gone bigger or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he has. He's definitely. Yeah, I know, Dave. He has gone bigger, but 12 years in the nano game is loyal.
You get less for murder. He's being constructive for once. I'll read it out. A 170 and above is a tank. Everybody below is a sink.
Like a finger bowl.
Cheers, Jeffy.
So just for the sake of this conversation, so tank volume. So I'm 1,400 litres, including sump, give or take. Josh, what you
196. 196.
Oh, I like how precise that is.
Very
196.
I measured when I first filled it up. It was measured out. So
precise.
196.
Very precise.
Jason.
American viewers, 20 gallons. Sounds not very much. 75 litres.
75 litres.
Even smaller.
I know, yeah. But there might be some Americans watching in the middle of the night. I don't know. 20 gallons, 75 litres. I think it's probably one of the smallest all-in-ones, I think, possibly.
Come on then, Rob. Let's have it.
Mine's 3,000, give or take. I think it's over, actually, but 3,000 is just nice. It's 800 gallons.
Oh, dear.
It's like playing Top Trumps again. I think he's won.
It is. He's won. Definitely won that round.
Might drop them off. Right.
3,000 litres.
Yeah. But obviously that comes with a lot of stuff.
That must include the sump and all that area.
Yeah. I'm just saying, everyone goes, "Oh, this must be amazing," but it's only because I've said this before. I've got the time to do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had this tank when I was your age. I wouldn't have had 3,000 litre tank. I couldn't have maintained it. Would have been impossible.
Yeah.
But now I've finally got the missus to just carry on working and pay the bills. I've got all the time. Just check the door shut. You'll see a big fish coming in a minute.
No, big hammer to your tank, mate.
Oh, don't say that.
He's a brave
dear.
man. He's a brave man.
Lee's running 2,000 at the minute when he gets his sumps linked. Yeah, he's on with it at the minute. Add another 1,000 to it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of
What
water.
else is people saying?
A
It
lot of
is.
water.
It is. It's a lot of water to replace as well when you've got issue. Anyway, I'll stop from giving stuff away.
Tom, I'm loving this. You are Team Nano.
Digging myself a right hole here, aren't I? Starting off with the Max Nano and have a reef of 350. I do prefer the larger tank. More options for stocking. Hate the bigger water changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go in it, really.
Yeah.
350.
Right then.
That's nice, guys.
So we're up to date with the comments. So should we go around the room? What's everybody's opinions on pros and cons of small versus large? I will start with. I'll start with you, Rob. Sorry, mate. Picking on you.
I'm sure you was going to go clockwise. I don't really screen. Pros and cons. I kept a Red Sea Nano, which is what yours is, Jay, isn't it?
Yeah.
For about a year or so. Just I QT'd my corals in one, and I had it sitting right next to my desk where I'm here. And I liked it. Great little tank. Loved it. But obviously, I'm a fish guy. So my very first tank was a 6-foot tank. So fish-wise, I've never really had a kind of small tank. So I've never had to make those decisions of, what fish can I keep in a small tank. And then obviously a 6-foot tank, very slow or very quickly felt small to me. So I went up to this 13-foot tank. But
as you do.
Yeah.
As you do. But I wanted specific, I wanted that Achilles tang because I've always wanted to keep an Achilles tang, and everyone says, you got to give them as much room as possible. So that's basically what I've done. I wanted a Nardi Ras, also gets big and needs a lot of room. So I kind of built the tank around the fish I wanted.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I've always kind of migrated towards that size of tank rather than into the nano, because I like corals, but I'm like, if I've got a fish at each coral, I'll just say, see you later, coral. Most people will take the fish out, won't they? But to me, I just go, I'll just get a different coral because there's millions of corals in there. So,
wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, each to their own, obviously. But the nice thing about having that nano was, like I said, I could do a water change with a jug. Buying all the additives that you want, or just putting one light over a tank would be a godsend sometimes, because the lighting issues I had with the Mobius app was just drove me absolutely mental. I suppose the way to mitigate most of the things on a big tank is to automate as much as you can. It's like my water changes. I was doing them once a week. Now I've got that sort of continuous dosing going on. So I do the sort of 200 odd litres throughout the week. And then on a Monday, I just use 100 litres just to clean the sump out and any detritus in the tank. So it only takes like 20 minutes. But yeah, there's no getting around. There's no getting around the fact, one, big tank is big time and big money. And sometimes, even when you love it, when you go in the shop and just go, I've just spent 240 quid on some salt for my tank. Yeah. Is that really what I want to be spending my money on?
Can't relate to that, Robert. I'm sorry, I can't relate.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have to sometimes.
My Tropic Marine box, which is like £90, lasts me about 6 months.
Yeah.
My salt box,
I'll do that's 2 a month. I do. And if I see any issues in the tank and I want to do a bigger water change, then I'll buy 4 of them, and that'll do me for a month.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah. It's expensive.
So, yeah, it is expensive, yeah. And then obviously you got all the energy costs of running it all.
Nothing negative, yeah.
So now I've said it out loud, it sounds really stupid. I should get a nice 170 or something. But obviously you've got to love it enough that you're willing to pay the price of time and finance to get the tank you want and keep the things you want. I posted a video this morning of my Carberite Antheas when they're feeding. I love them. absolutely stunning, and you get a really nice natural habit in a big tank that you don't necessarily get in a small tank. You know, as the lights go out every night, they spawn, so they all do their little mating courtships, and the males all come around the females, and you know, things like that is kind of about as natural as you can get in a tank, really, to watch fish spawning and stuff and laying eggs and whatever. So I'd struggle to see that sort of behaviour in a smaller tank, because you just can't have the numbers of fish. You can have different fish, obviously, but just so I think that's about it, really. I mean, I like both, to be honest, but I've always because I'm a fish guy, I've always gravitated towards large tanks because I want to have the fish and see the behaviours. You know, I mean, some of my fish are a foot long.
Well, I think that I would say that for me, a smaller tank definitely wins in terms of maintenance and cost. There's two things there, two pluses for a smaller tank.
Let me just get this down here.
I would also say that
he's making notes.
No, I'm just scoring it up. That's all. Go on.
We can score it if you want to score it. I'll do a poll in a minute anyway. I'll look to score if you want.
It's probably not a good idea scoring anything after Friday's live stream. It was terrible. Well,
yeah, you didn't do very well, mate, did you?
No, you mopped up. You mopped up, mate. So congratulations. But anyway.
Oh dear, that was just me. Well, anything after the abuse I got off him.
Well,
yeah, cost maintenance. But I think there's one thing that was one thing that is really sort of standing out to me, and that's from my experience in this hobby, is moving the damn things, physically moving them, because I'd much rather move a smaller tank from one house to another or one room to another than a monstrosity, because it's like it is literally like a project. You have to project manage it, getting into your house, who's going to help you, where it's going to go, setting it up. You can't just go, oh, I don't like the tank there, so with a nano, so I'll do a 50% water change and we'll drag it to the other end of the room. So I'd definitely say that. But no, I think the benefit with a larger tank, you know, again, it's pros and cons, but like Rob says, fish, certain species you can have, corals, grub, you know, aquascapes. So for me, I think the bigger the better, but again, it comes with a price tag, so it's got to be affordable, because as I always said, as soon as it's not affordable and you're not putting the time and effort into it, it's going to go Pete Tong. So finding that balance, I think, really, to your lifestyle as well, in terms of maintenance, which I'm a big advocate of. So
that was one of mine. The lifestyle thing's a big thing, isn't it? Like, it's got whatever tank you have, it's got to fit your lifestyle, which is obviously
you're never at home, so you definitely need to know.
I'm a bit like Rob at the moment. Yeah, I've got 6 weeks, but I just think it's got to fit the room. It's got to fit your time commitments. It's got to fit, like, you know, what can you feasibly run and commit to? And you mentioned lifestyle there, and I think lifestyle is a big underpinning factor. So I agree with you there, Tom. Lifestyle.
Bet that hurt.
We agree on a lot of things, just not big tanks.
We do. Go on then, Josh, over to you. What's your thoughts?
I think you've hit the nail on the head with the lifestyle one. I think that is literally the overriding decision. And when I say lifestyle, obviously you factor in different things, you know, the size of where you live, your income, your free time, how many other commitments you have. I think that's the biggest overriding factor on whether or not a small tank is a good tank or a big tank is a good tank. For yourself, Rob, you're saying you've got the time now to manage the bigger tank. That's amazing. I think if any of us had, you know, the time and the resources to do it, I think we'd probably all go for the bigger tank. But as I've already sort of mentioned, especially with me in the summer, a big tank like yours, I would neglect it far too much to be able to really make a good success of it. That's the main. I think that's the main thing for all of us. If you break it down, you're then talking about sort of, you know, your costs, maintenance of all the different equipment, and just the general health of everything. I think the size will be dictated by what you can give the tank rather than what it's going to give you. Because, you know, you could go bigger because you think, oh, it's going to be an amazing tank, it's going to look beautiful, but then when it doesn't get pulled off because you've not got the time to put into it, you're probably going to step back out of the hobby. Whereas if you have the smaller tank that you think, like you said, Rob, a jug of water is going to be a water change, You know, you're realistic. You're going to make more of it, and you're probably going to enjoy it more. You're going to get out more from the hobby than what you necessarily would with a bigger tank, even if it's not going to have everything you want. If we're talking about tank specific challenges, let's say, I think the big one for me, the thing that really sort of makes nano tank keeping hard is flow. We always bang on about flow, don't we, and how important it is. I still, even with 4 wave makers in mind, cannot manage to get a decent flow pattern where the water moves cleanly enough that I'm going to be hitting everything. So yeah, I think big tanks win in terms of being able to keep corals healthier, let's say, because you've got that bigger water volume, so toxins and things won't build up as fast. You can get better water flow, better movement. You can have bigger fish. Bigger fish means that you can potentially have things that are going to pick pests, pick at algae, things like that. So I think there is a lot of pros to the big tank that potentially myself and Jay are missing out on. And flow is probably that main one for me, and being able to control your numbers so well. But yeah, I mean, I personally, if I had the time and the money, I would definitely lean towards the bigger tank. But as I've already said, like, time gets taken up with so many other things that you quickly realize you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do with it. So yeah, I'm quite, even though I'm a nano tank keeper and I have been for nearly 5 years now. Yeah, probably about 5 years now. I'm still very on the fence as to what is the better of the 2 tanks. If it's for ease of keeping, nano tank. If it's for what I'd want to achieve with the tank and what I think I could achieve with the tank, then I would probably definitely go down the larger tank route as the tank, shall we say.
Yeah.
Very, very good points there, Josh.
I think the other nice thing about a nano tank is it's so easy to take pictures of. I think Nick made a thing in a comment about you can keep small like pom-pom crabs and things. That if I put those in my tank, well, I've got some stuff in my tank. I never see it. I just never see it.
Yeah.
I've got 2 mandarins in my tank. I haven't seen them for months. Some of the cleaner shrimp, peppermint shrimp, things like porcine crabs, pom-pom crabs.
Yeah,
I just never see them. So in a nano
tank's more of a stage, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, just a lot more close and personal to the inhabitants in it, aren't you? Really? So there's
that is a good point. That is about being able to see the smaller livestock, because you do actually see them quite a lot when you've got a nano tank.
Yeah,
like I've got 3 sexy shrimp and they're tiny, but I see them like most days, and they'd probably be lost in a bigger tank. You probably wouldn't.
Yeah, well, they'd be eaten in a lot of bigger tanks.
Yeah, that's true.
Because most big tanks have, they have wrasse and they just have predator fish. It's like Josh was saying, you have the fish you keep in a bigger tank. They take care of certain aspects, but they stop you doing other things, and that's a classic example. Sexy shrimp wouldn't survive in my tank.
Wouldn't be able to keep them, would you?
Right, okay.
We've got a poll here, Tom. I can see a poll.
I have put a poll. So I've put a poll out because I was just practicing while you guys were talking. It's so much easier when there's more than 2 of you on the stream, because you can have a play around and make sure you're doing it right. So I just put a poll out there. Why do you run the size system that you currently run? Is it lifestyle, husbandry, or I think it would cost I put on there as well. So we'll let that run for another minute or so, but I think it's quite an obvious winner.
There's a really overwhelming majority.
I know you mentioned the cost one a number of times, but even nano, depending on what kind of level you want your nano to look and what corals you're going to stock it. I know Josh has got a lot of kit on his nano. It still ain't cheap to run a nano if you really want to pimp it out. Put really nice things in it. It's still an expensive. Obviously, water changes aren't, but it's still an expensive setup. You're talking thousands even for a nano.
I bet my heater on my tank probably comes on maybe once a day for about half an hour, simply because the heat from the lights basically heats the water. So it's like, there's certain pros and cons. Well, I know that's what we're talking about. There's certain benefits of having a larger tank.
Yeah, and it's hot in Doncaster as well, so
it is tropical up there.
Tropical in Doncaster.
Not Doncaster.
I always think you live in Donny. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
I don't live in Donny. Don't upset me anymore than you already do.
You live near the Dome.
I don't live nowhere near Doncaster Dome.
Sorry.
Anyway. Right, so
yeah, guys,
that
my
poll,
heater's probably only come on one,
yeah,
possibly 2 months in the year. Like in January, February, probably the only time the heaters kick in. The rest of the time, those lights just give so much ambient heat. Yeah, they just heat that volume of water, and it doesn't drop at night at all.
So either of you have sort of checked sort of like what wattage you're pulling, or like how much energy is going into your lights versus heaters? I think that would be an interesting one. If you think you're running a bigger tank with tons of lighting, how much energy are those lights drawing versus, let's say, you have the amount of lights and then increase the heater runtime? Is that cost offset? Are you going to be having a larger output from the lights? Because obviously, yes, it's a benefit that it's going to keep the tank warmer, but is it going to, in time, cost you more because you're effectively wasting heat to the air, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So it might be good that the heat is not running very often, but how much money is being spent on lighting that potentially might not be, if that makes sense.
Well, that's those damn corals again. See, you have to light them, don't you? I just have one Kessel light in the middle of the tank, otherwise. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I mean, wattage wise, I suppose you can work it out reasonably quick. It'd be about 2,000 watts, isn't it? Each light's about 100. So,
Right, I'll end that poll now then.
Probably easy to keep the temperature stable, isn't it, in a larger one? That's what you're saying, I think. Whereas ours, Josh, like today, it'll go up 2 or 3 degrees possibly, just because of the heat. And it's just hard to keep smaller volume, a consistent temperature, isn't it?
That's quite a big. That's a big rise, actually. To be fair. What are you running yours at normally, Jay?
So mine runs at 25, but today it'll probably get near 27 because it's a hot day.
Bang on 25.0, yeah?
Yeah, 25.0, yeah. But it'll probably touch near 27 today because it's going to be a warm one, isn't it? My house is generally warm, and it's upstairs as well. It's on the second floor, so it gets warm. Yeah.
Stop using the sunbed.
Stop putting the sunbed on. Hey, don't need one today. The garden's that's all you need. Just be in the garden with a beer today. It's perfect.
So that poll, 15 people voted. 15 people voted, sorry, Rob, and the majority were saying that they keep the tank size of their tank based on their lifestyle. 86% said lifestyle, and 13% said cost. Nobody voted for husbandry or maintenance. So yeah.
You kind of sign up to those things, though. When you get a tank, you know that that's part of the deal, don't you? So it's not something that really is a decision. You can't really.
I think husbandry and maintenance. Sorry, Jay, carry on, mate. Go on.
No, go on.
I think husbandry and maintenance sort of falls under the lifestyle bit a little bit, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
In the husbandry you're putting in is going to be based around, like for me this summer, the amount of husbandry I'm giving to the tank is based around everything else I'm doing in my life. When the winter comes around, I'll probably triple the amount of input the tank gets.
Yeah.
But I think the husbandry and maintenance side of things is going to be lifestyle dictated. Again, that's why I think was it Rob? Was it you that made the point on lifestyle? I think it's going to be the overriding factor, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, you just end up with a rubbish tank, and like you say, you either leave the hobby, or you just look at your tank and despair for months and months on end, which is not why you got in the hobby, is it?
Yeah.
We've got a couple more people who've joined us this morning. Just to say hello to a couple more. We've got Lee A. Thanks for joining us, Lee. Carl, hope you're on the men still. We spoke about that Friday. Nice to see you, mate. Morning, Michael. Mickey boy Mick. I think that's everybody in the house. So now, again, thanks for tuning in. Right, anything else anybody wants to talk about that's a bit controversial?
I've got a couple of questions. First
then.
of all, number one, why is eBay full of big tanks? Just out of interest.
Okay.
The other one is, and this is very controversial, but hey, let's go with this. When I see bigger tanks, a lot of them that reach 2 or 3 years, or maybe 3 or 4 years, do look a little bit dirty and a bit unkept. Whereas, often nanos, they often look like nice and clean, tidy, because it doesn't take long to maintain them, does it? That's the thing. Clean the glass, clean the sand, clean the corals. bigger tanks can look a bit more mature before the time. They can look a little bit dirtier. I think obviously because of the time it takes to clean them and to clean all the rock work and everything, they tend to look a bit scruffier before the time. There you go. Controversial statement.
Well, you could say that about me and you because we're the same age.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
I spend my time working, not in a beauty parlour. It's a bit similar to my, different.
Mate, you work from home. Don't say that. You've never commuted in your life to work. What are you on about?
Oh dear.
You can't say working at home's working. That's not.
Oh dear.
Anyway, I get
what you're saying. I think there will be some of that will be down to people who've probably given up a little bit because of how much of a ball ache it is to maintain such a large system. Going on to what we're saying, lifestyle. It's a little bit like, it might sound a silly analogy, but when you hear stories about people unfortunately having to give dogs away or animals away because they're too much, take too much time up. They haven't got time to take them out walking all the time or whatever. As daft as an analogy it sounds, it's relevant to what we do with a glass box of water. If you haven't got the time, it is going to come to a point where you'd neglect it. And quite often, go on.
I mean, this comes back to our anthropogenic reefing a little bit, doesn't it? We spoke about
it
last Sunday,
it does.
In the fact that maybe that's what a tank should look like after 4 or 5 years.
Well, that's
and
true,
people with nano tanks are so fastidiously cleaning it all the time that it's an artificial look.
Well, but then it looks good. It looks like a piece of.
Well, it looks good to you.
I know.
It looks good to you.
Well, there's a
counter. The point I was trying to make last week was that I don't like tanks that look absolutely gleaming clean. I think they just look artificial to me. So I like a tank that's. I don't like the back of a tank to be clean. I like it covered in coral.
This guy's tank has got OCD worse than mine.
That's gin.
That's gin. Vodka dosing. Just fills it with vodka.
He hasn't got any marks in the corner of his glass or anything. It's that clean.
It's brand new. It looks like you set it up yesterday.
Yeah, but I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the point I'm making.
all for the clean.
Yeah, I don't like it. But
you like to be able to see your fish, Rob, or not? No. You don't like to see your fish.
I just like it to look a little more natural.
I know what you're saying. Nature over nurture, or nurture over nature.
To be fair, there's a counter argument to what you've just said here, Jay, coming from the audience. Nick's saying people tend to keep bigger tanks for longer, so they will look older second hand because they've invested that much money into them, maybe that they'll keep them for longer. Whereas it's a lot more cost effective to swap a nano out for if you can afford it and get a brand new one. What you're on your fourth? You're on your fourth nano, aren't you? In the years you've been keeping it.
Who, me? What are you on about? This is my first one. My first nano. Number 1. I need to say this as well because this is like eating away.
Jay just pops down to Signature Frags and buys the whole tank set up and just puts it in his room.
It's a prop. It's a prop. It's a prop. Wheel the other one in. This one's looking a bit dirty. Wheel the second one in.
I'm not saying. I know it's a controversial statement. That's why I made it, just to get a bit of discussion going. But I know not all big tanks are, unkept and scruffy. But that's. I just think it is probably. I spend at least 20 minutes a day cleaning mine, and then when I do the water change, maybe an hour scraping it and cleaning it and doing bits and bobs. You can't really do that with a big tank on that scale because it's just going to you give up your whole days just cleaning it.
I think one of the down. Yeah, go on. Sorry, like Rob said, go on, you're all right.
Like Rob said, you got to keep it a bit natural. Also, for different feeders, they like to have dirty glass in certain areas or dirty panels and stuff to feed off. So I get all that, and it's important as well. That is, but yeah, I do go back to what I was saying originally about Josh's tank. I do like that crisp, modern art look that his tank's got.
I think most people do, to be honest. I think most reefers like that. Yeah. I don't dislike it. I wouldn't have it as my personal choice. Too much work, Josh.
Yeah,
but it's not for a nano tank.
Yeah, that's true.
I also want to say as well that if I had a choice, I would actually have a bigger tank. I don't know if that loses the argument, but going back to what Josh said, You know,
So would I.
You can't really prove what you
So
can
would
achieve. You can't really prove what you can achieve in the hobby until you've gone to the scale of tank that you're happy with, as it were, and you can fulfill your goals in the hobby. I don't feel like I'm fulfilling my goals in the hobby at the moment. That's because I'm limited by the size of my tank. Yeah, and that's to do with lifestyle and budget as well. You know, I haven't got the money to get the tank that I want. I'll be honest, I haven't got the money to upgrade to the tank that I really want. So why get something in the meantime that I don't necessarily want? Wait a bit longer and get the dream reef, which I know obviously Tom and Rob, you pretty much got your dream reefs.
I'm not there yet.
Not there
I'm not either.
Because,
No, I'm not either.
How can you have more goals after you've got those tanks? I mean, that is.
I'd like to use my current tank as a sump for my next tank. That's my kind of, because I'd like to.
Oh, mate, you're gonna have to charging people tickets like at the deep.
Polo reef style.
Maybe not that big, but but I'd like to sort of just have a tank what was probably 8 or 9 foot deep.
Don't you have to have permission for something like that on a street, surely? Like, because if that blows, you're not just going to wash your house away. You're going to wash you're going to wash the street. You're going to cause localized flooding, Rob. Surely you need some agreement from the Environment Agency about that. If you're having that big a tank, I don't know. But
I've got no idea, to be honest.
He wants to be able to clean his tank out wearing his diving his diving gear.
That's what he wants to do. Log dives in every Sunday. Just log a dive, doing some algae cleaning.
Wow, that'd be incredible.
No, I definitely want a sump room if I could have one. If I could have a bigger tank, I'd have a sump room. Keep everything separate. All the sump, skimmer, everything, frag tank, QT.
I mean, I guess the other thing, part of the kit we buy, like I don't know what you got on your tank, Josh, like kit wise. You got Apex stuff on it, or GHL, or
DHL.
So your outlay for the cost of that is essentially the same as any. The tank size is irrelevant, really, isn't it? Yeah. So certain things, the size of the tank makes no difference, because Josh would put the same kit on that tank that I'd put on mine, like for controller purposes. But some things are sort of set across the board. Yeah.
But then I suppose if we're going down that, you've got, I would agree with you on the controller front. But then you're multiplying lights, you're scaling up the size of the wave makers, you're scaling up the number of the wave makers, your size of your return pump, your heaters, your size of your skimmer. So I agree with you. There are some costs that are set across the board. But
I think the big controllers, really. Everything else.
Again, that's goal based as well, though. I mean, if like for your tank, you're keeping your fish is your predominant overriding factor on why you keep the size tank you do. Like you said, if you didn't have, if you had corals that were being eaten by the fish, the corals go, not the fish. So lighting and flow maybe isn't your main thing you're going to focus on. So for you, it could be quite scalable in that, you could get away with the same amount of lighting on, let's say, I don't know, a 7-foot tank versus your 13-foot tank. And flow again, the same thing. You could be just, a couple, like 4, let's say MP60s, you're turning them up and down based off of your requirements, rather than needing more because you've got corals that are growing in, and then you need to increase the flow. So again, that I suppose is goal based as well.
Yeah, it is.
Right, a couple of comments from everybody watching. Big tanks for sale. Normally people upgrade without realising the increase of cost. I have to agree with that. And time needed to keep up with the exercise. And there's the cost of filling it with livestock. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he's got so much livestock, Lee. I was going to say that as well. A lot of big tanks look quite empty because it takes so long to fill that space, or to afford the corals that you need to stock a larger tank. It's a big ask. But Lee
is that a pro or a con, though? Because it's nice to go to a shop and go,
to be honest.
I've got the room. I've still got room to buy something 2 years after you set your tank up, I guess.
Yeah. But I know just Lee, he fills his tanks always look full.
Absolutely packed.
He looks fantastic, I was going to say another one. Oh, sorry, John, you're doing the comments now.
Go on. It's harder to run a nano or pico. Big tanks, the problem tank longer takes the tank longer for issues to arise. I agree with that, but I'd also
Probably
say that
quicker
if
to
you've got
fix
any,
it
I'd also counter that and say if you have got an issue because you've neglected it or took your eye off the ball, it's going to cost you a lot of time and effort to put it back to what it should be. Going back to what we were saying about a water change with a jug of water versus a 300, 400 litre vat.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You're very quick to fix your mistakes with a nano, which is going to my other point really. The reason why I got a nano was because I was new to the hobby. And for anybody who's like thinking about joining the hobby, like the nano is the dream place to start because you get an all-in-one system. You don't really have to select your kit because it often comes with like the kit assigned to it. You can find out because I didn't know if I was even going to enjoy the hobby. You know, I just started out. I thought, oh, I might enjoy this. I might like this. So it's a lower investment to set outlay at first to find out if you're actually going to love the hobby and get into the hobby. And we need more and more people in the hobby. I know people leave this hobby left, right, and center. So without the nanos, you know, you're going to have even less people joining the hobby and dipping the toe in and finding out if they really love it like we do. And I think the nano gives you that step into the hobby and give you a taste for it, which I think is really important. And I know a lot of tank manufacturers have invested heavily in nanos in the last few years, probably for that reason. Obviously, energy costs, but to get more people in at a more affordable rate, as it were, and see if you love it. And I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it. I didn't know if this was for me, but now it is.
That's a good point.
Absolutely love it. So now I'm ready to move on to, you know, to something else in the future. But yeah, I think that's that was one of the main reasons why I got a nano. I wasn't, you know, sure if I wanted to have it as a hobby.
Well, you can have it as a lifestyle, like Carl saying. Keep the ADHD and the OCD at bay. Keep you busy. Yeah.
We've talked about that, haven't we, a number of times.
It's
definitely. As an escape from, you know, whatever you're going on in your life that's a bit hectic. They do provide that sanctuary, don't the tanks? They do. Obviously, they can create stress as well, but
I was going to say
you have the infrastructure worries of a small tank as well, do you? So if you want to put like a 170 or a nano pretty much anywhere in your house, if you've got concrete floors, wooden floors, you know, when you start getting up to like 6 foot tanks that are weighing, you know, 500-600 kilos. And I guess I was just sitting there trying to think whether I've seen people say they've had seam fouls on small tanks. And I can't think of any.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I've seen a few, not as many.
Right.
But I wonder whether or not that's down to potentially bad practice of people belting the scrapers, because you're going to have the much stronger magnetic scrapers on a smaller seam. If you start hammering them off the side of them, that's what's causing them. Again, same again, I suppose, with the bigger tanks. You know, touch wood that. I don't have anything. I check my seams pretty much every week just to make sure nothing's starting to creep. But yeah, like you say,
you're probably going to get a lot of what you're going to get. Sorry, you're going to get a lot of what Jay was just saying though about people getting into the hobby and using a nano tank as that stepping stone. So I think you'll have more second-hand sales of nano tanks than any other size tank. So they're probably more likely to have been used and abused over the years by people, because it's like a lot cheaper to set up a nano tank second hand than it is a 4, 5, 6, 7 foot, you know, tank, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you might have a go at it.
Another advantage of a small tank though, Tom, isn't it? So if Jay's seam goes on his tank, he can basically go get his kettle and put the contents. And he's saved all his livestock.
For a bit,
Maybe a slight exaggeration, but you get the point. It's a lot easier for you to, you know, to save the whole content of your tank if you did get a seam split, and same for you guys. Whereas I don't know what I'd do.
Definitely. No.
I have no idea what I'd do.
Dump them all.
That's a good one, that is, Rob. I didn't think of that one about the seals and stuff. Yeah.
Liam agrees with you.
I know. I was just building on what Rob said. So mine's on my desk in my office. It's obviously a desktop tank. I see it every day whilst I'm working. So it's in like a place where I can sit a lot working, and I can enjoy it. Because it's working. I choose where I put it. Where like a nano tank, you can choose. There's that flexibility, like Rob was saying, where you want to put it. And I don't think I'd get rid of my nano either. Even if I got an upgrade, I think I'd just keep it as like what you call like QTs or frag tank or something like I don't think I'd ever be without it now, because it's so flexible. You can put it anywhere pretty much.
I haven't even got a tank. Look.
You need to do a live stream in your fish room. Is the internet not regular now?
No, it's awful. But I can do it, but I have to take the Ethernet cable and like pass it through windows and stuff and get out there. But
spent all this budget on fish.
I can be bothered. Exactly, yeah. I actually live in a shed. But the fish room's perfect.
Oh dear. Right then. So what else have we got here? I think we need another poll, don't we? Any ideas? Any suggestions?
Have another poll.
Anybody? Any ideas? Any thoughts? What we should be asking?
I don't know, but I do think beginners should start with nanos. Really, personally.
All right, then I'll ask that
question. That's
then.
A controversial statement, but I don't know if it's like some people like, you know, if you're like buying a house, they say, "Oh, push yourself and buy the biggest you can, and you know you won't regret it." I don't know if that applies to reefing. I think you should.
Well, your advice used to be, though.
I think it does.
Like, when you go to an LFS, they always go volumes better.
Yeah.
Maybe they've changed now, but
mitigates your mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the advice I always got when I
am jealous of the fish that like they Rob and Tom can choose, because obviously it does restrict us a little bit.
Yeah, massively.
We can only take nano. I mean, there is some gorgeous nano fish. Don't get me wrong. Like there is some really nice nano fish, but it does take out certain species of fish that we just can't have, and some of them are utilitarian fish. You just think, I really could do with that fish in my tank. That'd help me with like the algae or whatever else, and I just can't have it because it's not, you know, it's not ethical to keep it in a nano.
Yeah.
Oh, a poll's up.
Yeah, put the poll up. Do you think people should start with a nano? Yes or no?
Another controversial statement. I'll just keep.
Are we saying nano smaller than a small tank though? Are we putting another category in there, or are we just going small, big,
small, big? Josh, try to keep it simple, mate.
Small, big.
That was small.
Yeah.
I do think what you were saying, Jay, in that go like with the house. People say buy the biggest house you can. I think with the tank, buy the biggest tank but you've got to be careful, because you could say to someone, buy the biggest tank you can, and they've got a space for a 4-foot tank. They go put the 4-foot tank in, and then they go, I've got to go and buy however many lights, however many wave makers, things like that. I think that again has got to be buy the biggest you can, but buy the biggest that your budget can manage for what you want to get out of the hobby. It's all well and good us going, buy, you know, a 400 litre tank, for example. But then if you can't afford the wave makers and lights for a 400 litre tank, then you've got the biggest tank you can, but you're not going to achieve what you want. And again, that's going to make people step back out of the hobby potentially because of cost.
And I don't think enough people think about how much the hobby costs, as in just a fish tank and a return pump and whatever else. I mean, there's a few people I know that have got out of the hobby recently because they've said the cost of it, and they probably wouldn't have got into the hobby at the time that they did if they'd have known the true cost. No, no, they didn't.
They had nanos. They had nanos, yeah. That doesn't help the argument. I was thinking, if they had nanos, then maybe they'd still be in the hobby that they love.
No, the point I'm making is that people, when you're in I think you've got to rewind to when you first got in the hobby, and if you think back to the amount of sort of influences that people, you know, have. Well, nowadays it's social media more than when I first got in the hobby, but what I'm saying is people saying you need this, you need to buy that. When do you need to buy it, or have you budgeted for it? And, you know, test kits, you know, ICPs, rock, live rock, substrate, you know, where do you stop, you know, before you've even put a fish or coral in? And it can be really, really pricey. And I think, you know, I just think people think it's just as easy as getting a fish tank, heater, pump, water, and off you go. And maybe on paper it is, but we all know that's not the case. And that's when 20 quid here, 30 quid here, it starts adding up and it gets a bit out of hand. I don't know. I know many a time I've gone into an LFS and come out without any livestock and spent 100 quid. I'm like,
I don't know what the ratio is.
I'm sure Rob spends like 500 quid every time he goes in.
Spare change.
Right. I don't know. I'd be interested what the ratio is on average. Like, I think probably, I'm just going to guess here, You know, like the outlay of your equipment and all the stuff you initially, like the initial setup cost versus the cost of running it for, like, let's say 2 or 3 years and stocking it with your livestock. What would you say? Maybe no more than a third, I would say, for your initial outlay, and then maybe 2/3 stock, livestock, and running. Probably even more, probably even less than that. Maybe 20.
Would you say livestock's more an outlay cost though? Because without the livestock, you've not got the tank, have you? In effect.
Well, I know you won't know yet, but I'm just thinking, because like, how much you spend on corals and fish is a lot of money, and you don't really think about that when you just I'll get a tank, and I'll get the equipment. Then you're thinking,
you spend more on the contents of your tank, don't you? Than
you do, I never realised that, Rob.
The tank, and I don't think most people do. I think they always think the big expenditure is just getting all the hardware, the tank, the pumps, the lights, and they think, oh my god, I just spent a fortune. Well, the worst of it's over, and then you start buying corals and fish, and you just go, wow, and you end up spending even more.
It's just
I don't know what the ratio is, but it's
because the thing is with a pump. The thing is with the thing I was going to say with a pump or a power head or a piece of equipment. You know, majority of the time, if it breaks, it can be fixed, or you can send it off and get it replaced. If you kill a coral, you've killed a coral. If you kill a fish, you kill a fish. You know, so from an investment point of view, you've got to be really wary, haven't you, in terms of what you're putting in? Because,
and and you will kill a fish and you will kill a coral if you're in this hobby. You know, no one comes in this hobby and never kills anything. So I think the actual just stocking the tank is probably twice, 3 times the cost of the initial outlay of the tank. You know, if you take into account the things you lose as well along the way. And then the ongoing.
As a new hobbyist, I didn't realise that. I thought once
I feel like I'm just talking people out of joining the hobby now.
No, not at all. No. Anybody watching, join it, because it's actually an amazing hobby. It is amazing hobby.
I'm stopping the poll on the Nano at 11 o'clock, so we've got 60 seconds. If anybody's not voted, now's the time. It's really close call.
I love that poll.
Stopping it, and we are in poll. Right.
Oh, come on. You could have voted another minute for another vote for Nano.
17 votes.
That's close.
So 52% of the viewers said no, they shouldn't start with a Nano. 47% said yes. Wow.
Now here's a question. How many of them did start with a Nano? There you go.
That's from experience, though. To be fair, so if they
maybe it's the same question. I don't know, but how many of them started with a Nano? That could be
it's true. Yeah.
I think what another benefit with a Nano for me, thinking about it, is if you got any issues with your tank, like pests or fish disease or anything like that, it'd be a lot easier to oink them out and treat them in a separate tank than it would. Ripping your tank, a bit large tank to pieces to try and catch that. You know, you saw the wrasse on Friday night, and I was trying to take a photograph of it, try and catch that thing, and not a prayer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think when it comes to dealing with issues, that again, you're daft if you don't think you can have them in this hobby. I think having a smaller tank and just a smaller area to be able to put your hand in and catch something, or separate it from your tanks, definitely benefit for me. Definitely. Well, absolutely. Unless you were Josh and end up fragging everything, probably trying to put your hand in that tank.
It looks more full. I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's just loads of little like nubs in there. There's a couple of big ones at the back, but I still think all the corals are tiny. But yeah, you're probably right. If I did sweep my hand around in there, I'd end up breaking loads of stuff. I did yesterday, actually, trying to clean it. So
yeah.
Maybe just go to the badge and clean it and just and I'll get the corals growing a bit better.
Anything else anybody can think about? Good big versus small versus big. So we've covered cost, we've covered lifestyle.
If you're a coral person, there isn't any coral that you can't grow in a Nano. I don't think it really limits you. I know you talked about health with the flow and all that sort of thing. I know you limit by fish, but I don't think that applies so much for coral in a Nano. I do think that you can keep most things.
I'd agree in a sense that you can keep them. Are you going to get the best form, color, and the overall look out of them? So, for me, I love acros. and I'll look at someone like, let's say, I don't know, Greg Carroll's tank or Keith's, reef bums, and you look at like sort of the way that his acros have, grown up and plated out and tabled out. That to me is amazing. You couldn't do that. One of those corals would take up my entire tank, which I think would probably look quite cool in a way. Yeah, I could keep it. I can keep a frag of it. Am I going to get the growth pattern out of it that I want? Probably not. And that's one of the things for me that sort of is why I would like to go to a bigger tank, is that, yes, I can keep the corals, but can I get out of them what I want to achieve? I'm not as sure. I was hoping I could, but I'm not as sure now. So I'm sort of erring on the fence as to whether go, well, do I drop the harder corals and go, I'm not going to worry about them, and I'll put the easier corals on top, make it look fuller, make it look like a healthy, thriving reef. Again, I think it's down to your personal goals. Again, you can keep them, or you're right, Jay, you can. Are you going to get out of them what you want? I'm not so sure. A torch is, if you wanted a single head of torch, or if it splits in 2 or 3, it will look great. But is a table and acropora going to be able to achieve its best form factor in a nano? I would question whether or not it is.
No, that's a good point.
You're going to spend a lot of time fragging as well, aren't you? With certain, put like plated montes or scrolling chalices and stuff in it that just grow insanely quick. You're going in there chopping them constantly.
Yeah, I have that issue with,
you could keep them.
Like digis and things like that. For me, I'm constantly breaking stuff off when I'm cleaning it. It's about 4 inches away from the glass, and the tank's a year old, and I think every couple of weeks I'm breaking bits off because it's starting to grow into other corals, or it's starting to grow into the glass, and it's starting to impact flow. They'll grow really well, but is it again going to be able to reach that really nice big filled out form that it would in a bigger tank and not impact on other areas of it? Again, it's a bit of a challenge for us nano keepers. So it's a bit more bonsai, I think, isn't it? A nano tank than a bigger tank. You are constantly doing little things to it and managing it in a way that, like, again, it is a piece of art in effect. It can't. I don't think a nano tank can achieve that natural look like you were saying.
No.
It is a piece of managed art.
Well, so in terms of hours spent on the tank, then how many hours a week do you think you guys spend on your tank?
Now that would make a good poll. That.
Yeah, that is a good poll.
Get that one up.
Let me think about
doing it now.
How long do you reckon, Rob? How long do you reckon you spend on a week?
I reckon at least 10 hours.
Well, that's not as much as I thought. That, to be honest with you.
Well, I think that's a minimum. I think some weeks I'll probably spend twice that.
Virgin on neglect, that is, Rob.
That's not even an hour a foot. That's shocking.
Joking.
Come on, give me some brackets, guys. I've gone 0 to 2 hours.
So I spend about 15 minutes a day. That includes feeding and stuff. Plus 2 hour water change once a week.
Sorry,
so
how many of these can you have, Jay? Is it 3 options?
3.5 hours.
Okay. It's 5 to 10.
I don't know. I think for me at the minute, in terms of maintenance, I'm probably.
It's on holiday.
What me? You on about?
He's had a 6-month holiday. You were saying, like summer holiday on summer break.
Pretty, like it is. Like I think at the minute, I would probably say in a week I would spend less than 2 hours on the tank. I reckon in across the whole week, it's like a 5-minute glass scrape a day, and then it takes a minute to dose the things that I'm dosing to it. I've got a couple of the modern reef things, and then just the bacteria for the zeolite reactor. That takes a minute a day, and then the glass scraping is literally a 5-minute job. So that's a daily occurrence, and then the weekly water change, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours once you factor in doing the tests. I would say I'm barely scraping 3 hours at the minute. But if I look at how much I do in the winter, I could spend a good 20 minutes, half an hour a day just doing like random little things that don't necessarily even need doing. Like turning, if corals have moved slightly, turning them round, shifting the sand about, picking up little bits of stuff off the sand bed, tidying up the sump, just constantly rearranging things and doing things that don't necessarily need to do. There's one other fact I think for all of us that a lot of hobbyists probably don't factor in is the social media side. That's quite a big task in itself. I'd probably say I'd spend as much time on social media, setting things up for social media, so like cleaning the tank, doing the posts, and keeping up with things on the relevant channels. I'd spend as much time with that as I do with the actual maintenance of the tank. I don't know about yourselves. Obviously, with your live streams and things, you think as well, you're going to be spending a lot of time.
Fair point. Fair point.
Didn't include that at all. Yeah.
And that's one of the things for me, I think, that when it comes to summer is why I sort of disappear off grid a little bit, is because one, I'm not maintaining the tank to necessarily the standard I could. But then also, it's not that I don't necessarily have as much time, but if I'm committing time to other areas of life, and then everyone wants their downtime, don't they? I'd rather just sit on the sofa there and stare at the tank than be, messing on with it, doing videos, editing videos. But for us especially, the social media side is a big time consumer. But for your average hobbyist, that's not. And when I say average, I don't mean average as in capability. I mean, run-of-the-mill hobbyist that isn't necessarily maintaining a social media account. I think, your time spent on the tank is going to be more dedicated to the tank, and you might have less time overall. So, maybe they'll keep the tank better. Who knows?
Right, I'll put
a lot of hobbyists do have social media as well, which is they have their own Instagrams and stuff like that, which is great. And I think the social media is a good thing just to keep a history of your tank. I often go back. Like one of my fish at the moment, my blenny, my tail spot blenny, he's 3.5, but he's looking a bit thin. And I think it's just age. I don't think he's got long left, bless him. But I was going back and looking at previous videos on my social media or on YouTube and seeing where I thought where things had started to change. Social media I think's a great thing for the hobby, and it does take up a bit of time, and it's good that everybody's on it. I think most people here in the chat's got social media, post about the tanks and stuff like that, and it's good little history of your tank. I think everybody should do it. Social media,
good community, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great community. But Tom spends hours on it. He's like Mr. YouTube at the moment.
I'm trying.
I love it, mate. I love it.
Right, I think we should go around the board on this question. So talk to me about we went a bit off piece there a minute from today's topic, but Liam's put a good point in. He's intrigued to know what everybody does in their maintenance or their husbandry hours. So I think you've already answered this, Josh. You dose a bit, clean the glass. That's about it.
That's a daily occurrence,
Daily, okay.
Weekly, again, so things like skimmers, return pumps. I try and keep the sump and that as clean as possible. I know I've taken the filter socks out, but I seem to have less detritus buildup in the sump now than I did when I had the socks, which is really strange. I don't know why or how that is, but it seems to be the case. I probably only touch my return pump and skimmer once every 6 months. They tend to stay fairly clean. So they're not a regular occurrence, but weekly is literally water change, tests. Glass gets cleaned pretty much daily, because as soon as you get that sort of haze on the glass and you can't quite see the corals as well, they don't look as good. And then I'm thinking, there's something wrong with it. Give it a quick swipe, and you're like, no, it's fine actually. But yeah, I think it is just a case of just those really regular tasks: clean the glass, feed the fish, feed the corals, do your test, do your water change, and that's you'll spend a lot of time, I think, sort of being quite fiddly with things. I'm making sure all the sand is in a certain way. I don't like sand up against the glass, and I like it sloping up into the scape. So I spend a good 10 minutes getting all the sand exactly how I want it. It seems like a silly task, but
Rob's going to be shaking his head at this. He's going to be like,
well, yes, it goes back to that piece of art thing, doesn't it? It needs to look how I want it to look. So that again, but for Rob, you're going to have completely different priorities.
Okay.
Yeah. Mate, always.
Rob, what's your weekly maintenance then, Rob? Or daily, weekly?
I clean my skimmer probably every 2 days.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, just the cup, or as in the entire thing?
No, just that, because it's external skimmer, so I can't clean the body. But just the clap. It's just easy, because I've got a sink in the fish room. I'll just spin it off, give it a quick rinse round, put it back on. It's literally 30 seconds. So I'll just do that. every couple of days. Obviously, I feed the fish every day. I was just trying to think. Like this morning, I went in and I dumped a couple of piles of calc into my calc stirrer. I clean my sump every week when I do my sort of manual part of my water change. I clean the actual tank, detritus in the tank. I clean the glass today. I clean one power head each week as I do a water change, because most of them are MP60s or MP40s. I just swap the head out and clean the other one. So I just do one a week and then just continually rotate them, basically. I can't think. Dosing's all done automatic. I might mix up some of the elements manually that I make and then just re-top containers up, but generally they last months rather than weeks.
What's your sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. What's your sort of fish feeding side of things look like? So I've seen your picture where you've got tons of frozen fish food in the door of the freezer, I'm assuming. Yes. How long does that take you a week to sort of, do you make up custom mixes, or do you just break off bits and throw them in? And
no, I weigh, like this morning I weighed out 5 cubes and a chunk of, I don't know what it's called, reef feast or something. It comes to 20 grams in the morning. So I microwave it and then I stick it in the tank. So I do that every morning. So I do 20 grams in the morning. I do 25 grams in the afternoon, about 4:30. They also get 2 full sheets of nori, and they get 4 feedings of either pods or cleanliness from a fridge, like for the doser.
Wow. Okay.
It's a very small amount. That's mainly for the antheas. I mean, the big tangs and that, because it's so particular, they don't really bother with it. But yeah, it's more for the antheas, really. So that's automated, that part of it. So technically I only do 2 manual feeds a day, but I do 4 sort of automated feeds a day as well.
Wow.
Does
it take long for you to sort of maintain that automated feed, or do you buy the cleanliness and that in and just?
Yeah, I buy the bottles already in. Yeah, and I just top them up. The pods come in those pouches, first bite.
Yeah.
And I just tip them into a bottle in that little fridge. So it's reasonably easy.
Do you have airlines or anything in there just to keep them suspended? I know I've gone off topic here, but I'm just quite intrigued.
No, I just feed the dosing line to the bottom, and then they spin up and dose the tank, and then they spin back and dump it back in. So yeah, it works really well. Actually, I mean, 2 years in, good. You have to change the lines out probably every 6 months, because they do get a bit. Those silicone lines go like weirdly sticky. Nobody used them. But yeah, other than that, it's good little system. I think it's like a £30 fridge off of eBay. It's like a tiny little feed for like 4 cans of beer or something.
Yeah.
Just drill the holes in there. Perfect.
Just a full-time job by the sounds of it, yours. You must have to clock in and clock out at the end of the day.
I think.
I suppose
what Mick said in the comments as well.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, what's that?
Sorry.
What's that? Whose alarm's going off? Not mine.
Room service.
Oh,
not me.
That's my missus' phone. That's her work phone. You got to answer it.
She wants room service, Rob. You best get off.
I'm gonna go. Yeah.
Jeeves.
Got to get her breakfast prepared in a minute.
I need my breakfast in bed. Come on. It's good. I think it's going to like what Mickey Boy Mick said in the chat here. It says, the time, is it what it actually needs, or is it what we give it because we're just enjoying ourselves, enjoying the hobby, enjoying the tank? I think that's good point. I think there's a bit of both, isn't there? Yeah, there's a bit of both.
There'll be a sweet spot.
There'll be a sweet spot. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the less you do, the more you then set yourself up to have to do to pull it back to where it should be. So as we talk about range, don't we, quite often with parameters and whatever else. And I think it's no different with husbandry or with maintenance.
Yeah,
got to be something that works for you and works for the tank. Otherwise, you've got the wrong tank.
Basically. Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I never spend time in the fish room, really, very rarely, unless I'm feeling ill or something, that I don't want to be out there doing it, even if it's just sucking fish poo off the bottom of the tank. I'll still enjoy it. And I'll still like the time out there, but let's stay off.
Right, I'm going to finish this poll. So, right, okay. I should have stopped it a bit earlier. So, how long do people spend on their... Wow. How long do you spend on your tank per week? 46% of the view of 15 votes came saying 2 to 5 hours. So yeah, shorter an hour a day. 6% saying 10 plus. Wow. Okay then.
Not many people in your group, Rob.
No,
because you say 10. You said 10, didn't you? 10 hours or 13 hours?
Yeah, I reckon 10. I mean, that's me. If I probably clocked it, it'd probably be more, to be honest.
Yeah, because testing can testing could easily take an hour sometimes if you're not rushing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It can easily take up time. Interesting, that is.
So, what's everybody's biggest challenge then with the tanks? I think it was probably one for the viewers, but I may as well ask you guys as well. What's the biggest frustration having the size tank you've got? So link it with the topic of discussion.
For me, it's not being able to have the fish that you want. I mean, I'd love some angel fish because they're just amazing, aren't they? They look incredible, and I obviously can't have them because it's not ethical. If I put some in, everybody on social media would come and hunt me down and march me through the streets if I did that.
Shame
on you. They would, and rightfully so, because we're keeping the pets here, aren't we? Keeping animals. So that's the biggest challenge for me, not being able to keep actually the things that I really would love to keep, which I think Josh has alluded to as well about nanos.
Yeah, if we're talking about challenges with the actual tank itself, now I've mentioned it for flow. Acros are the thing that I enjoy most in the hobby. I think corals is the overriding thing for me, and not being able to provide the right amount of flow because despite the size of the wave maker, there's just not the room for the flow to spread out and cover the corals. So I think that's the biggest challenge in terms of a nano tank for me. Lighting it's easy enough. Having the filter now that I've got a sump, I think all-in-ones and sump tanks, I think, is another discussion altogether. Obviously, Jay, I've had the all-in-ones, and personally, I'll never ever have one again. I think they're far harder to look after than sump tank. But yeah, I think the biggest challenge with a nano tank is, for me, with keeping corals, is definitely flow.
Yeah.
Just knocking another poll out to wrap up today's discussion.
He's loving a poll.
I'm just laughing at Lee's comment about the biggest challenge is you can't swim in it, which is I know Rob's desperate to be able to swim in his.
Yeah, that's my next tank.
Especially on a day like today when it's so nice.
So should I do it? Should I do a poll based on size of the tank or water volume? Because the size of the tank doesn't necessarily mean the water volume, does it?
No.
That's true. What's the question in the poll?
I'm just going to say, what's your ideal size reef tank? Just to put a lid on today's topic. Just because. So I've got nano to 3 foot, 3 to 5, and then I'm going 6 to 8, and then 8 plus.
Wow. What? And
you reckon?
Is this like without a budget? If you won Euro Millions on Friday, is that what we're saying here? Or with your own budget? Everybody's going to go for the biggest if they've got unlimited cash, aren't they? Surely, well, most people would.
All right. What's your ideal size reef
on Friday?
Depends how busy you are, doesn't it?
Well,
if I can afford a man to maintain it,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're gonna be a hot water.
Be like a polo.
Could be jet setting all over. Yeah,
exactly.
8 guys looking after my tank. Yeah,
I'll pay Rob to come and look after it.
You're gonna jet me up.
That's it. Yeah.
I was going to say when you said there, Tom, about obviously like we're talking about sizes of tanks. I really like what Rob's got going on. He's got like the sort of big footprint of tank. I think 1,000 liters of a large footprint versus 1,000 liters of a long narrow tank. I'd take the large footprint every day. I think you can do more with it. It looks far more aesthetically pleasing to me. There's a guy, I don't know if it's Swiss Reefer on Instagram. He's got that sort of really big square tank, but it's a lot shallower than
Yeah,
it's a big square one. He's got a couple of really massive parts. Yeah, a couple of little islands. He's got the which I can't think what was he used for flow, like a closed loop system on it. Well.
Yeah,
he's got a mangrove in it, has he?
I think he's got like and he got mangrove at the one end. Sure, he has.
Ooh. I'm going to look now.
Maybe
unless he's got a new update on it, I'm not sure.
It's a shallow reef, isn't it? Shallow reef.
What's the username? What's the tag, Josh?
Reefer.
Swiss reefer.
Yeah, Swiss reefer. Yeah.
It's a shallow. It's
you say shallow, but I reckon that tank is deeper than mine with ease.
Is it?
And I'm 60 centimeters.
Yeah.
But it's because it's such a big tank.
Yeah, they look shallow,
wise, it looks shallow. I do like the look of like a shallow lagoon looking tank.
Yeah.
And his is what it's viewable from 3 sides. It's a massive, like really nice open area. I think, you know, if we're talking sizes, I think, yeah, Tom, you're probably right on volume is where you want to go. But then if we're gonna, you know,
interesting. Sorry, I'm just looking at the poll. Sorry, mate, I'm listening to you.
Go on, what's happened with the poll?
So at the minute, 67% are saying 3 to 5 foot is the ideal size they would have based on the current circumstances.
That's what I've heard.
It's quite a manageable size, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
4 foot.
Yeah, a lot of options.
I think I'd go 5 by 5, and then by 2 maybe.
Yeah, I wish I'd have got more depth, but I just couldn't because of the size of the room. Because it encroaches with the footprint, it takes over the room.
Watch the Olympics, would you, Tom?
I'll be in it. I'll be doing synchronized swimming with my rasses.
I bet you love watching the Olympic diving and stuff. You got that big tank next to you there. I bet you're like,
we watched it yesterday. We watched it.
The girls won, didn't they? They won the bronze. The girls did.
They got a bronze. They did well, mate. It was good.
Well, anyway,
right.
Okay, you won't be able to watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to add? Because I'm going to wrap this up after the next poll because I'm conscious everybody's got a Sunday afternoon to get to. And thanks ever so much for everybody tuning in.
Yeah, just to come back to that challenges question, is that I think for me the challenge was introducing everything without any disease. Because as you said, when you have a big tank, if you got a diseased fish or coral, just getting it out and treating it. What are you laughing at, Jay?
I'm laughing at Dave's comment.
I wondered how long it would be.
To be fair, it took a lot longer than I expected. So, Josh, if you just sat there thinking, what on earth are they going on about? You need to watch Friday night, mate, if you get a chance. It was very entertaining for the majority of people, other than myself. But yes, you got to be a good sport in this hobby. You have. Sorry, John. Sorry, Rob. You were saying about pests. No, I'd agree with that.
Just you know, they are. I mean, they're difficult on all tanks, but you know, I think they scale with the size of the tank. They've just become a bigger problem in a bigger tank. Just dealing with them, really. You know, like you said, trying to get a fish out is an absolute nightmare in a huge tank. So I think the greatest challenge for me was introducing all of those fish and corals and doing my best not to bring anything in with them. Is it?
That's always going to be a challenge in the hobby. Keeping out the pests. Every time you introduce a fish or a coral, it is a bit of a. I hope this goes well. Let's just hope this goes well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Everything crossed.
Yeah, definitely.
This is gonna be an off-topic one. Has anyone seen? If someone I saw on Instagram a little while ago. The suspended bottom reefs, or like the hidden bottom reefs.
Is that like the plenum? Is that a plenum system? Where they have the reef and then they have a void under it and they blow water through.
Yes.
That's old from like the 90s.
That wants to make a reappearance because I think that is interesting and potentially very beneficial in terms of keeping your tank as you want. Have you seen it before, Jay, or not?
No, I've not seen it. John, can you get a picture up?
I'm going to do it now. Spell it for me. Go on.
Pertler.
Oh God, I asked for that, didn't I?
We did, yeah.
I don't actually know.
Oh dear.
It's literally, I think it is exactly as it sounds.
Plenum.
I'll say it again. Plenum.
Yeah.
Plenum what?
Reef tank. That's what they're calling it.
Reef tank, yeah. Josh might be able to share his screen if he finds one. At the bottom.
I'm on the iPad, so I have no idea how I'm going to do that without shutting this down. I'll see if I can find. I can't remember where. I don't know if I saved it on Instagram or not. Because normally anything that I think I like the idea of doing that in the future, I tend to try and save. So I'll have a look see if it's there.
Any of these?
No, so you
There's
can't see the
one on,
void underneath it. What, Rob, what were you going to say?
There's one on Reef to Reef apparently, but I don't know if he's got any video of it. It's a 25-year-old.
That one's got a big gap on. Oh no, it's some.
It was amazing though. It literally basically was a hidden. It was. I think it might have been in a fish store. It was basically just like a section that they panelled over with like a panel on the outside, like similar to what you do with a canopy on top. They panelled it off so you couldn't see it, but when you removed it, there was sort of about this much room at the bottom of the tank where they put a false bottom in. And then, you know, little bit of raised end either end, sort of sand spilling over into it. And then they just have wave makers in the bottom. And, you know, one end would be on for, let's say, an hour. So it would blast the flow in a real nice circular motion through the tank and then go back the other way again. And I think that might help with settling detritus potentially because it's going to keep it moving. And if you do get any settling down there, you can clean it out as well. But yeah, it just looked really good in that. You think, if we think of like sort of tidal movement in the ocean, you're going to have the water moving in one direction for quite a substantial period of time at a decent velocity and not blasting anything. There was no wave makers in the displays because it was all hidden down underneath. So aesthetically, it looked great. And I think there could be a real benefit practically as well. You know, I think that the wave makers are a lot more compact now, especially with that sort of gyre ones. You could stick two of them down there. You know, I think it's something that, you know, might end up making a reappearance. Rob, do you know how sort of long ago that was?
I'm sure that was in the 90s, early 90s, I think, when that first came around. It's quite old. I mean, that Reef to Reef tank, that says that's 25 years old. That Blenheim tank.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess it's almost like a kind of amalgamation between bare bottom and sand, where you can have both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not seen it. But no, Tom loves the 90s theme. I quite like it.
I like the what?
You love the 90s, you do. You like everything. You love 90s TV.
Everything good happened in the 90s, mate. I had air.
Well, yeah, I know you love
it. Pass me driving test.
Many good memories in the 90s, actually. It's a good time.
Going out clubbing wearing, so like I said before, Ben Sherman shirt and
Sherman
black
shirt,
shoes.
yeah.
Ben Sherman.
You have to have your nice shoes on, otherwise you couldn't get into a club. None of that anymore. You can wear trainers now.
That's it. You can.
Standards in the 90s.
Right then, I'm going to wrap this up because it's 11:30. Thank you ever so much for joining. Josh, thanks for coming on. Nice to see you again. Nice to speak to you. Rob, as always, thanks. Jay, been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in on Sunday morning. I'm sure you've got other things to be getting on with. Some probably have got 10 hours worth of husbandry to do, seeing as though that's what they do on the polls. So I'll let you go and clean your skimmer cup or do your water change or put the Sunday dinner on or whatever it is you're doing. Yeah. But no, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and we'll see you all next week.
Cheers.
Take care.
Yes.
Bye-bye.